As someone that's an anime-only watcher of My Hero Academia and has hopped on it since I'd say season 2 is when I became part of this whole community. This season, there's a lot of things to talk about, and it was both a season that had me, thinking I'm in a shonen now. I've been watching this for a few years. It doesn't seem like it's going to end anytime soon, or might it? There's a big picture stuff. That's the other side of things. This season 5 had a lot of big, juicy, spicy plot details to add to the mix of things to both add interest, but also bittersweetness, if that's a word. So today we're going to be going over kind of just overall thoughts of My Hero Academia Season 5. If you have not watched it, just be warned, spoilers ahead. So yeah, if you haven't watched it, hop on it or come back to this video. I'm not sure. But hey, it's Tony on Westside Otaku, in which I like to share some general anime thoughts, some first impressions, occasionally reaction with you. And boy, there's just a lot to go over here. In fact, there's kind of, I would argue, of this season, there was the most arcs in this season of My Hero Academia compared to the others. I'll have to kind of think about that more, but I'm going to say that for now. But it did have one universal theme that is this buildup to an inevitable war we're going to have between pretty much all the heroes of the world, including trainees, versus the frontier, the phantom, whatever. There's a coming war, and this entire season was essentially building up to that. That was a theme, but we had so many different stories to tell here. First off, the season starts off with what a lot of people might deem to be the most uneventful part of the season. It was my favorite part. It really was. It kicked off with Class 1A versus Class 1B, an arc that, yes, didn't have much to push the world of My Hero Academia forward other than getting to know Class B. We finally get to see the entire cast that is the other hero class of My Hero Academia. And to me, that's important, to get to know all these other characters and people that are, on the other side of the coin. This is the tails of the group, while Class 1A is the heads of the coin. And I personally appreciated getting to know all these different characters and what they can do. And plus, I love seeing a face-off between classes. I have an entire video about this portion of the season, but I enjoyed it. It was really cool. Not to mention beforehand, we got to get to know, this little episode about One for All, and how the origins of those two quirks, One for All and All for One. And we found out that was kind of important because you got to see the other previous holders of One for All, and that would eventually integrate into the season where Midoriya actually learns a new quirk. And that's the first step. Like this whole Class 1A versus Class 1B, yeah, it might not have been the most, plot-driven way of somebody getting a new power, but I personally dug it. I love the face-off. And even a shining episode, probably my favorite episode of the season, where Bakugo actually, well, it's one of my favorite episodes, but when Bakugo manages to just completely have a huge 180 in his character arc. Like, he has become such a good hero with his team in these battles, and they're the only ones that just have like a clean victory, and that's awesome. Like, I really love that. That was super cool of an episode, but I just enjoyed all of it, including Midoriya's new abilities, because I was starting to not really get that compelled by Midoriya because he's finally starting to get a hold of his quirk. He's instantly like, no longer the underdog. In fact, he's one of the tanks of Class 1A. And now there's something else to discover, Not to mention, after all said and done, like Bakugo and Midoriya are just meeting with All Might casually now, which is super cool to see. Like how far their relationship has come. But I like the fun stuff. I really do. And by the end of the season, we're probably not going to get any more fun stuff like that. It's all going to be serious stuff because the rest of this season, boy, does it get serious. Because it kicks off with Hawk becoming, we find out, he's a double agent, he's a spy. And I believe we found that out earlier on. But it's interesting to see what he's going through and how he's playing this facade and the things that he's finding out, aka some huge frontier of people, like literally hundreds of thousands of people are around that to, free people and to allow them to use their quirks however they choose. And I find that so interesting because it's a villain motive that I dig. right? Like, there hasn't been a villain in My Hero Academia that's just straight up, I don't relate with you, except for Shigaraki, who we'll get to. It's just interesting. I found this frontier interesting and was really hoping it would go beyond this season, which it is going to. But before we get to that, you know, we have this whole Endeavor arc where Midoriya, Bakugo, and Todoroki, that are all three being interns or whatever the program is, you know, where they get work studies. I think that's what it is, work studies, where they're working under Endeavor, the #1 hero now that All Might is gone. And bro, Endeavor is daddy. Like, he's trying to be daddy again. Don't twist my words, please. But in two ways, because first off, he is being a genuinely great mentor for Midoriya and the gang, because I don't know, he sees, like, he gets the hint of the coming threat that is this frontier, and he has to make sure people are ready. He has to make sure he's ready. And so he's a good freaking mentor to Bakugo, Todoroki, and Midoriya, and teaches them a lot of great stuff, like really great advice. And that was super cool to see. But not only that, he is trying to, like, make peace with his family. And I love this idea that he doesn't want to be forgiven. He wants to atone. This is like the only part of this whole season that I didn't go over, but it was easily the deepest, in my opinion. I don't know, like, I just didn't expect to do this deep dive out of nowhere in this season where there's so much else going on, but yet we get this intimate thing about what the #1 hero is going through, and him figuring out, like, what exactly does that mean? Like, not only do I have to be the #1 hero in public, because he did that at the end of season 4, but I have to, you know, do that in my own personal life. And I don't want my family to forgive me for what I did, but I need to atone for what I did. And I really, really liked that whole thing with Endeavor. It was just freaking cool. Oh, by the way, I think my favorite episode of the season, damn it. Okay, I have four favorite episodes of the season, but one of them is the one that I think is just going to get really, like, brushed by, and that's Eraserhead and the Mike person. They both have their episode talking to their old friend. That was actually, like, thinking about it now, that might have been my favorite episode, only because I love moments of, like, trying to get through to someone, you know, like trying to get through to an old friend, not like they've gone bad, but just like they're being consumed by something. I love that thing where just somebody's become this monster or other being, and it's like, he's still in there somewhere. I love those moments. And seeing a person that is strict comic relief, as well as somebody that's super rigid and, you know, straight to the point kind of a thing, seeing both of them emotionally, like, wrecked in this episode, talking to their old friend, was freaking awesome. This whole season had such good emotional depth put into it. We haven't even got to what is the best part of the season, being the villain face-off. I said before that Class 1A versus Class 1B was my favorite part of the season, and I still stand by that. I think the best part was this whole Frontier versus League of Villains stuff, because you just get the villains side of it, and these villains already were such a colorful cast, but now it's actually, you get to know them and see them develop, which is really weird, because earlier on in the season, we got Midoriya, you know, developing and learning more about his One For All quirk, but Shigaraki has been without All For One for a while now, and they got no money, you know, his band of, I'm going to call it his crew, you know, and this season just kicks off with such a cool thing being the giant. You have to earn that thing's trust. That is All For One's, one of his biggest assets, and it can be yours if you manage to prove yourself to it. And I love that just starting off thing for a villain of all people to do. How often do we see that? But it was just really cool to have an entire arc focusing on the villains, and also getting to know more about, like, what the Frontier is, and they're, like, how well funded they are, how far back they go, and how long they've been building up. It's really cool, but they're nothing like the League of Villains, who are just a band of misfits that just, you know, kind of do wrong. But you find out, you know, character things about each of them, where Toga and the KIBI guy, like, they had super nice fleshed out backstories that happened. And they, honestly, the KIBI dude, his ability is gonna be wild. And I love how he got it, because he overcame his trauma. And the same goes for Toga. Like, she had to come more to terms with what she's really into, you know, like I don't know. The villains are literally breaking through their limits just like heroes do, and that's crazy to see, but they're still at their core down to do villainous stuff. But the highlight of the season, Shigaraki, man. Whenever you see an episode titled Origin, get ready, because it's going to be a good-ass episode. But we get two, not just one, but two episodes for Shigaraki that are titled Origin, where you see his crazy past, having an abusive father and a family that doesn't really do anything about it whatsoever. And he, boy, I should have a picture on screen right now of the moment, the most disgusting moment of this whole season. And then it just escalates from there, from the boy just getting really happy and into what he is doing, dude. That is the day that the man that creates morning was born. He also became, like, visually one of my favorite villains because I love white hair with red eyes. And also this idea that, you know, he started with black hair, and the more, you know, who he is, he becomes, the more his hair just becomes pure. But yet he is a very devastating person that's going to become something so much worse. I don't know. The whole villain battle was just cool. Like, there was a lot of cool moments, and it was a lot of, you know, action, tons of action, but I really like those character moments. That's what I go to My Hero Academia for. But in the end, we have Shigaraki going to become something super, like, terrible, because he now has the huge ass army that is the Frontier, and he is the leader of it with his pimped out suit, and that builds up. This whole season is just get to know Class 1A versus Class 1B. That's why I thought that was relevant. Getting to know All Might, what is Hawk doing, and the villain face-off. It's all building up to what Season 6 is, which is going to be all-out freaking war. And Midoriya needs to get a hold of his quirks, man, because he's going to need it to face what is coming. Overall, Season 5, I felt, was the most shonen-like of the show, and I say that because it had the most plot. We are finally beyond the days of Academia days, but I'm going to miss those. I really do enjoy the Academia parts of the show. That's what made probably Season 2 my favorite season of the whole thing. And I just enjoy those moments. I love shows that focuses on training a good deal. I get it, plot has to come in at some point, but I like the training arcs. I like that stuff. And I like getting to know the characters. And it doesn't have to be through world building, but we got plenty of that here in this season. And it was a great ass season. If something felt off about it, it's because this was the one that we spent the most time away from the core cast, mostly in the back half, you know, but other than that, I really liked it. It's a tough call between 8 or a 9 out of 10. I would probably say gut feeling 8 out of 10. I just thought the season was really good, really enjoyed it. Some great animation moments, by the way. Holy crap.
Also, burning is freaking hot.
But what was your favorite arc this season? That's my question to you. What was your favorite arc of this season that you kind of resonated with most? Let me know. Like I said, mine was the Class 1A versus Class 1B thing, but maybe it's different for you. Let me know what that is in the comments. Let's discuss it. Don't forget to be Geek Proud Awesome. Check out a video you'll find over here, and subscribe if you've been here before and enjoyed the content. Thanks for coming. See you soon.